Hello everyone. Welcome to another series of lecture videos. This time, our discussion centers on workplace ethics. Workplace ethics describes the ethical dimensions of organizations and company activities. The term workplace ethics encompasses nearly every issue that may arise in a business, including production, distribution, marketing, sales, and consumption of goods and services being offered. In other words, workplace ethics is applied in every aspect of the business. At its core, workplace ethics brings down to moral philosophy. It is framed by how an individual or company's morality influences the decisions made and the behaviors exhibited. It is important to recognize the distinction between what is law and what is ethical. It is possible for a behavior to technically be legal while still being considered as unethical. Ethical lapses of any kind have the tendency to affect the work environment. Once employees see others breaking the rules without repercussions, they may start to think it is excusable for them to do so as well. It sends the message that not only will the behavior go unaddressed, but it communicates that it is acceptable. Worst case, they may view the company in a negative light and choose to leave. Essentially, a culture where misconduct is tolerated could result in higher turnover, lower productivity, and ultimately a diminished reputation and profitability. So, an organization that does not consistently fight against unethical behaviors will suffer, even if the wrongdoings in question aren't considered to be major by most people's judgment. Unethical behavior that goes on without being solved or corrected undermines the moral fabric of an organization, leading to a larger problem than the unethical issue in question. So in this video, we will be discussing the following topics. Okay, first, we will define and describe ethics. Then, we will also define and describe values, morals, and character, and how these are related to ethics. Then we will discuss about ethical decision making, as well as workplace ethical standards, and how to implement and manage ethics in the workplace. I would like to show you one of the best memes for ethics. So it says here, if money is lost, nothing is lost. If health is lost, something is lost. But if character is lost, everything is lost. Now, how do you understand this? If we compare character to health and money, which is the most important? So as you can see here in these memes, character is the most important compared to health and money. For a simple explanation of this, okay, look at the first line. It says, if money is lost, nothing is lost. It is because if you lose money, you can earn it back. Okay, suppose you lost 100 today, tomorrow you can earn maybe 100 or even more. So as if nothing is lost. Now, how about the second line? It says here, if health is lost, something is lost. Well, if you get sick, you cannot work, so you cannot earn. So there is something that is lost. And sometimes you need to spend money and time if you are sick. Okay? But the third line says, if character is lost, everything is lost. Okay? That means to say, if you do not have a good character, if you lose that character, your customers, your friends will turn away from you. So if you are doing business, they turn away from your business. So how can you earn something if you do not have any more customers? Also, your suppliers doesn't like you anymore because of your character. Okay, until you do not have money anymore, sometimes you will get sick and you do not have money to pay for your medication, for your hospitalization. So as if everything is lost. That's why character is more important than money or health. Okay, here's another memes about character. And it says here, a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere until you change it. So I think this is also related to the first memes that I've shown you. It says here, a bad attitude is just like a flat tire. So you cannot go anywhere until you change it. Same as character. If we have bad character or bad attitude, we cannot go anywhere. And the only way to go to where you want to go is to change your bad attitude or to change your bad character. If not, you cannot go anywhere. It is just like a flat tire. Okay, and here's another one that shows the relationship of our thoughts, our words, our actions, our habits, our character, and our destiny. In the previous memes, we said that if we are not going to change our bad attitude, we cannot go anywhere. That means to say, if we have bad attitude, we cannot go where we want to go, or that is what we call as destiny. So our thoughts, our words, our attitudes, our character can determine our destiny. So if you can see here, it says, watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, because they become character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. So you see how these terms are related to character and character related to your destiny. Okay, so now we are ready to define ethics. The word ethics is derived from the Greek word ethos, which refers to character or characteristic way of acting. So earlier, we were discussing about character. In the previous memes that I've shown you, for example, the first meme, it tells us that compared to health and money, character is more important, or character is the most important. In the next memes, it tells us that character defines our destiny. Our destiny, the place where we want to be. Ethics is also called as moral philosophy. So the other term for ethics is moral philosophy. And we can have several definitions of ethics. One definition says, ethics is a discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad and morally right and wrong. So here it emphasized morality. It says, what is morally good and bad and morally right and wrong. Why it emphasized morally? Moral. It is because different people have different way of looking at things. For some people it is right, for some people it is wrong. But what if we are going to decide if that right or wrong? So we always look at morality. That's why ethics is also called as moral philosophy. Another definition of ethics is that ethics is a code of moral principles or a guiding philosophy that informs people about what is right or wrong in thoughts, words, decisions, and actions, often formulated as principles of conduct controlling an individual or group. So it is considered as a code, or it is a system of rules. So whenever we see code, it is something about rules. So in programming, there is what we call as codes of writing, instruction. So it is just like a list of what we are going to follow. So ethics is also a code or rules of moral principles, or it is a guiding philosophy that informs people what is right and what is wrong. What is right and what is wrong in our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions. Remember in the second memes, how we relate thoughts to words, to actions, to habits, to character, to destiny. So what are the rules that we need to follow? What are the codes or guidelines that we need to follow with regards to what is right or what is wrong? So that is what we call as ethics. The third definition of ethics is also related to the previous definitions, but here we say that it is a set of guidelines. And usually when we say set of guidelines, they are also considered as codes. Okay? So ethics is a set of guidelines or accepted belief that attempts to examine and understand ways in which choices are made involving issues of right and wrong. So it tells us that ethics makes our choices. It affects our choices. Because when we choose, of course, it depends on our ethics. we need to choose the right from wrong. Okay, so what is our guidelines in making decisions? What is our guidelines that tell us that this thing is right against wrong? So that is what we call as ethics. Okay, I said a while ago that sometimes different people have different ways on how to look at what is right and what is wrong things. It is because human beings have what we call as personal ethics. And this personal ethics of one person may be different from the personal ethics of another person. And this personal ethics determine individual standards of right and wrong. So it is a right thing to consider. The next line, it says here, ethics allow people to determine what they should do in a given situation. Usually, what will you do in a given situation? That's why in those problems as your assignments, so you are given situations and you are asked what you should do. So if you are going to decide what to do in those situations, that is because it depends on your personal ethics. Each person develops ethical standards, and it is the responsibility of each individual to examine personal morals and behavior. So it says here, a while ago we said that each person has its own personal ethics. That's why we have different views of what is right and what is wrong. But take note that as we develop our ethical standards, our personal ethics, it is our responsibility, or it is the responsibility of each individual to examine, okay, if our personal ethics confirms with what we call as morality and the right behavior. So it depends. We need to view our personal ethics. We need to examine our personal ethics if that confirms with morality. What is right and what is wrong. We will discuss about morality later. Now, people's decision and actions each day affect how others perceive them. So remember about perception. So different people view one thing differently. So it is because of our perception. And our perception affects how we view things. Are they right or are they wrong? So it affects our decisions and actions every day. Now we see here that the purpose of ethics, however, is not to judge the moral worth of a person, whether a good person or a bad person, but the purpose is to help people agree on how they are going to live and work together. Different people have different personal ethics. That's why different people act differently. They have different behavior, they have different actions. That depends on their personal ethics. So in other words, sometimes we can create conflict because of these different views about what is right and what is wrong. So therefore, there should be ethics, and the purpose of ethics is to help people agree what is right and what is wrong, so that they can live together happily. They can work together in a more harmonious way. Because if there's no ethics, I can insist that what I'm doing is right, even though for other people, it may be wrong. So there should be a standard of what is right and what is wrong, and different people should agree. And if they agree on these things, they can live and work together. But take note, ethics is not used to judge the moral worth of a person. We cannot say, oh, that person is bad or that person is good. So we do not use ethics to judge them as a person, but to judge their actions, their behavior. Okay, one example. There are two siblings, an older sister and a younger brother. And then this older sister usually spank the younger brother. So what is happening once the older sister spank the younger brother? Of course, the younger brother start to cry. So we cannot say that the older sister is a bad sister, but spanking is not good. You see, it is on the action, not on the person. So we can say that spanking the younger brother is not good. It is a bad thing to do. It is a bad action. But we cannot judge the older sister as a bad sister or a bad person. So that is what we call as ethics. The purpose is not to judge the moral worth of that person, the older sister, but what is right and what is wrong in terms of actions and behavior. Now let's talk about values, morals, and character. These are the terms related to ethics. So we say here, ethics is interrelated with values and morals. And we define values as the principles or personal belief used to define what is right, good, and just, and they are derived from number of sources. So what are the sources of our values? The first source of our values are our parents and other family members. So our parents and other family members like our sisters, brothers, and other relatives are the ones who taught us values even at our very young age. So before we went to school, when we were kids, so they were the ones who taught us the right values. They taught us what is right and what is wrong. So even at home, there are like rules or policies that every children are going to follow. And always our parents taught us that this is right, this is wrong. So this is what you do because this is right, and these are the things that you don't have to do. Otherwise, you will be punished. So it is something like that. Okay? So the first source of our values are our parents and other family members. Similarly, the school, our teachers, and our classmates are also sources of our values. In school, for example, what are the rules and the policies that every student is going to follow? Okay? Like, for example, cheating is not allowed. Tardiness is not allowed. You have a limit on the number of absences. Otherwise, you are going to get DN. So these are some of the values that we learn from school. Coming to school on time, having a good attendance, participating in the class, behaving inside the class. So these are the values that we learn from school, from our teachers. sometimes from our classmates. But of course, there are instances that our classmates also will influence us. Not only good values, but sometimes they teach us wrong values. So that's why we need to be careful about going with our classmates. So we need to select our classmates to go with. Okay, but of course, this is, the school, the teachers, and our classmates are sources also of our values. Okay, what else? Also, our religion and the leader of the religion. Okay, we know that in religion, they are helping us understand and helping us to follow what are the good things. So there are many things to be followed according to religion. So that is also a source of our values. Another source of our values is the media. So it can be the broadcast media like TV, radio, and now we have social media. So all of this, okay, are sources of our values now. And we need to be careful about using the media because like for example, TV or broadcast media, so there are things that influence us. There are things that influence our behavior. Okay? So why we are having these values, it's because we always see them in TV. And sometimes they show not good values. That's why we need to be careful about watching TV or using the social media because we might get some negative values from watching TV or from using the social media. Okay, lastly, the culture in our society can also be sources of our values. That's why different people from different places in the world have different values. It is because of their culture and because it is what the society is showing to the people, to its people. So in Saudi Arabia, for example, it is not right for girls to wear miniskirt. But in the Western world, it is just right. So nothing is nothing is a problem wearing a miniskirt. Okay, so you see why we have different values. It is because of our culture and what the society permits or what the society identify it as right or wrong. So all of these are sources of our values. Now, can you think of your values and how you were influenced? Why you have these values? Who influenced you? Or what are the sources of your values now? Can you identify from these sources? What are the values taught by your parents? What are the values you learn from school? What are the values you learn from religion? Or what the media influence you? And also the culture and the society. Now we need to consider the different values that we have and the values of the people. So we call this as personal values. So we say that people rely on their personal values when making ethical decisions. Why is it that some people value honesty, fairness, respect, but other people do not value? So here we have 5 common personal values. Okay, let's check if we have these values. First, honesty. So honesty means telling the truth. Okay, avoiding lies, not telling lies. So telling the truth. And then we have fairness, fair. Okay, so there is fairness, balance. You are not favoring somebody, or you are not favoring group of people, but you treat people equally. So the word is equal treatment. We call that as fairness. And then we have respect. Okay, we are not only respecting some group of people. We are not only respecting the elderly, the old people, but even the young people we need to respect. Even people from other nationalities we need to respect. So we call that as respect. And we have also responsibility. Responsibility is accepting the task assigned to you. So if you work as office manager, then accept what is or what are the tasks of office managers. If you are a machine operator, then accept the task given to machine operators. So we call this as responsibility, accepting what we need to do according to our job. And the last one is compassion. Compassion means mercy, kindness to others. Okay, sometimes they say it is not only to be kind to people, but also to be kind to other living things. So be compassionate to animals, be compassionate to plants, and so on and so forth. So we call this as compassion. Now, more on values. So it says here that when people enter the workforce, they bring with them their value system and integrate it into the company value system, as well as the rules and policies of their employer. That's why during the interview of the applicants, usually the interviewer wants to know your values. Why it is very important? Because your values can affect the value system of the company. That's why they need to select. And one of the bases for selecting applicants to the company is the value of a person. Why? Because later on, these values will be mixed, will be integrated to the company value system. So the company don't want that they hire people with negative values. Because if that will happen, that means to say, the value system of the company will be slowly mixed with negative values until it will become all negative values. And that is not good for the company. Another thing is that a situation arises that require judgment. You know that usually in our work, we need to decide, we need to make judgment. So employees rely on their sense of right and wrong to choose how to react to a certain situation. So these decisions continue to shape their values. So that is the importance of values in the workplace. So usually employees make decisions, judgment, and we rely, or employees rely, on the sense of right or wrong based on their values. So values are important also in the workplace. Now let's move on to the second term, morals. Morals are said to be similar in meaning to values. They are almost the same. But morals are generally considered to be principles or rules for behaving in the right manner. And we have a similar term, morality, which is the standards that an individual or a group has about what is right and wrong, or good and evil. So take note, these are the standards for individual or group that has about what is right and what is wrong, or good and evil. So for example, for individual person, what is considered to be right and what is considered to be wrong? Or in terms of group, like for example, when we say Muslims, so what are considered as good? What is considered as right for Muslims? And what are considered as wrong for the group? So you can identify what is good and what is bad according to the religion. So we call that as morality. That's why if somebody violates that standard about what is right and what is wrong, like for example, one person committed against the standards of the religion, then we call him as immoral. So anyone who violates the standards of what is good, then he can be considered as immoral. Okay, that is based on morality. So in morality, there is what we call as moral standards. So remember that morality is the standard. So these standards or these norms are usually called as moral standards. So they are norms about the kinds of actions that are morally right and wrong, as well as the values placed on what is morally good or bad. So the standards of morality are the norms, okay, about the kind of actions that are considered as morally right or considered to be morally wrong. Okay, like for example, when we say we have moral standards in terms of clothing. So women should not wear miniskirt, for example. Okay, so that is one of the moral standards. Okay, and there are also considered as non-moral standards. So what are these non-moral standards? So anything that we need to follow, but they are not under morality. So it is not necessarily moral, then we call this as non-moral standards. So these are standards by which we judge what is good or bad and right or wrong in a non-moral way. So these are the standards that are not considered as non-moral. So it is not something about morality. Okay, one example is attending your class always. So it is not about morality, but it is considered as good thing to do. It is a standard to do. Okay, another thing, if you deal with your customer very well, these are not about morality, but it is a standard to do. Okay, to respect your boss, okay, it can be non-moral. Or in the class, for example, you need to pass. You need to get at least 60. Okay, that is a standard to pass the subject. So at least you get 60 grade in order to pass. So is getting 60 or getting at least 60 a morality? So it is not. That's why it is considered as non-moral standards. Now we move on to the last term. We call this as character. And when we define ethics, we say that ethics come from the word ethos, which means character. So character is ethics by itself. So here we need to define what is character. So we say that character refers to a combination of personal standards of behavior or traits such as integrity and moral strength. So we call that as character. Or it is ethics by itself. Now, character implies consistency of behavior traits. And strong character is what people want in their leaders. So usually when we select leaders, we look at a strong character of that person. In leadership chapter 7, we identify the different traits of leaders. And I think one of this is strong personality or character. Okay, another term here under character is core values. Core values are long-term attributes or long-term characteristics. That's why it is about characteristics. They don't change from day to day or situation to situation. Because each person has different educational and life experiences, core values are not the same for everyone. Okay? So your core values may be different from my core values. It's because we have differences in terms of educational and life experiences. So what is the source of our core values? Because take note, these core values are long-term attributes. That means to say, they don't easily change over time. So you cannot just say my core values change for just one day. Or these core values are not affected by situations. So they will not change according to situation. So what are the sources of our core values? Okay, they can be educational experiences or life experiences. Okay, take note that not all core values are the same. So core values are not the same for everyone. Okay? Then we have code of ethics. Well, many organizations and professions have what we call as code of ethics. So it is a code or it is a written pledge or written agreement. Code, because it is a code. Remember, we talked about code a while ago. So it is a written agreement to make responsible moral decisions. And usually, this is what the organization is following, or some professions are following this code of ethics. Usually, like for example, for a doctor of medicine, so they have an agreement after they give him the license. So he pledged that he is going to follow the code of ethics of medicine practice. So there are a lot of agreements there that these professions are going to follow. Similarly, for engineers, there should be a code of ethics. So what are the things that engineers should follow? Because once you become an engineer, so there are certain things that you need to follow. And these are included in the code of ethics. Usually, it is a pledge. It is like a promise. It is a promise to be responsible based on your profession and making moral decisions. In our place, there is what we call as code of ethics for teachers. Okay, one of the things in the code of ethics for teachers is teachers should not make relationship with the students. I mean romantic relationship. So that is not allowed. That is what we call as code of ethics. So we have some examples of core values. Okay, usually organizations have what we call as core values like JIC. So you see, these are the core values of JIC like engagement, teamwork, productivity, quality, innovation and creativity, fairness, integrity, trust, and mutual respect. So that means to say, these are the guidelines of the activities at JIC. So whenever we come up with activities, then we need to look at these core values. Is it confirming with the core values of the organization? Okay, it guides our activities. It guides the plans, the decisions of the organization. Okay, for Aramco, for example, is citizenship, safety, accountability, excellence, integrity. So whenever Aramco make decisions or plan for activities, they need to look at their core values. Are these activities, are these plans, are these decisions confirming with the core values of the organization? And here, we have the core values of International Association for Administrative Professionals. So this is not for organization, but for professionals. Okay? And there is an explanation on the second column, like for example, respect. Okay, there is a further explanation like listening, understanding, and acknowledging member feedback. Okay, so I was looking at the explanation for the core values of JIC and other organizations. Maybe you can find that in the website of these organizations. But these are examples of core values. Discuss ethical decisions or making decisions that are considered as ethical. So what are the different ways and different approaches of making ethical decisions? That means to say, this is to ensure that our decisions follow ethics. Okay, we call that as ethical decisions. So the first approach is utilitarian approach. So some of the managers, some of the people use utilitarian approach in making ethical decisions, so that they will ensure that their decisions are considered as ethical. So what is utilitarian approach? So utilitarian approach focuses on the consequences or results of their actions. So take note, the consequences of their actions. Suppose you are going to decide this. What will be the result? So we always look at the result of our decisions. We call this as utilitarian approach. Now, the goal of this approach is to do more good than harm in a situation, because we always look at the results before we make decisions. We can minimize harm in a situation. So that is the advantage of utilitarian approach. We always focus on the result of our decision. So usually the decision maker will always ask himself, if I'm going to make this decision, what will be the consequences or what will be the result? Okay, that is utilitarian approach. The next approach is rights approach. So from the word rights, the focus of this approach is on the rights of all involved. What are your rights as a person? What are your rights as employees? What are your rights as citizens? So the decision maker always look at the rights. He always asks before making the decision that am I not violating the right of those involved? Okay? So we always look at the right. So if I'm going to make a decision, is it conforming to the right of those involved? Okay, so I'm sure you know what are rights that we are talking about. Like for example, as a student, what are your rights? As a Saudi citizen, what are your rights? Okay, so we look at the rights when we make decisions. We call this as rights approach. Okay, it's here it says here it makes respecting the rights of others a moral obligation. So we always look at the rights of the people involved when making the decision. Are you not violating their rights? Okay, that is rights approach. The third way is fairness approach. So from the word fairness, fair, equality. So fairness expects people to be treated equally. So that's why it is called as fairness. Are you not favoring other people or other groups? Is your decision for the benefits of all equally? So are you treating people equally? So that is the fairness approach. So whenever the decision maker makes decision, he always asks if his decision is for the equality of all involved. Okay, that is fairness approach. The fourth way is considered as common good approach. Okay, the conditions that affect all people are considered in the common good approach. Okay, sometimes there are decisions that it may favor some groups, but it may not favor the other groups. But what is important is our decision should focus on the majority of the people involved. So when we make decisions, it is for the common good of the majority. Not for the few people, but for the majority of those involved. So what are the other things here? The conditions that affect all people are considered in the common good approach. Systems and laws are created to ensure the welfare of everyone. But if it is not for the welfare of everyone, we need to choose the decision that can be applied to the majority of those involved. And the last approach is considered as virtue approach. Virtue. So the approach uses virtues such as honesty, compassion, love, patience, and courage to guide behavior or to guide decisions. So whenever you make a decision or the decision maker make a decision, he always look at the different virtues. Is this decision doesn't cheat or doesn't tell a lie? That is honesty. Is this decision for the mercy of those who are involved? Is it about love? Is it about patience? And other virtues. So we call that as virtue approach. So now, how to make ethical decisions? What are the different steps in making ethical decision? So take note that before making any final decisions, use the following steps to make sure that you are making ethical decisions. Okay, what are they? What are these steps? Okay, the first step is determining the ethics of a situation. Does the decision affect a group or have legal complications? So that is the question that you are going to ask first. So does your decision affect a group or have legal complications? So you can use the different approaches that we just discussed a while ago. Okay, is it for the common good of all, or are you not violating the rights of those involved? So that is the question that you are going to ask in step number 1. So determining the ethics of a situation. Second step is to gather information. Of course, we will not just simply make decisions without any basis. So there should be information as our basis. So it says here, learn as much as possible about the situation. Get the two sides of the story. So don't be one-sided. You need to consider all the information. You are not going to listen only to one group. You are not going only to side one group or one individual, but you need to get the whole story. Okay? And get the point of view from all parties involved. Okay, so that is number 2, gathering information. Okay, third is to evaluate actions. What are we going to do here? Make different decisions based on the different ethical standards that we have just discussed. So look at on the view of utilitarian approach, or make a decision based on rights approach, or to virtue approach, and so on and so forth, so that you can see what is really the best decision. Okay? Are you going to use utilitarian approach, or it is better to use rights approach? So that is evaluating our actions. The fourth step is testing our decisions. So before we are going to implement our decisions, there is a need to test it. How to test? It says here, would you be proud of this decision if it were advertised? So when they say advertised, it is not advertising, but suppose it will be known, okay, in the whole organization, for example. They will know your decision. Are you proud that you made the decision? Okay, that is testing our decision. And the last step is implementing our decision. So that is to implement now the decisions and evaluate the results. So these are the steps in making ethical decisions. Now we come to the main part of our discussion, which is the work ethics. What is work ethics? So even in the introduction, I've talked about work ethics already. So now we will discuss more about work ethics. Here, it is defined as the application of moral principles, standards of behavior, or set of values regarding proper conduct in the workplace as individuals and in a group setting. Okay, a strong ethical culture within the organization is important in protecting the organization's properties and assets. That's why most of the organizations or companies implement workplace ethics in their organization. Because one of the benefits of work ethics is that work ethics protect the organization's properties and assets. If there's no workplace ethics in the organization, most of these properties or assets may not be protected. For example, we tolerate stealing. So everybody steal the properties of the company. So what will happen? Nothing will remain in the organization. All the properties are being stolen by the people. So that is because there is no workplace ethics. Another thing is that workplace ethics creates a desirable work environment and increases employee loyalty and morale. Okay, so take note that the word morale here is defined as the overall satisfaction of the employees. Okay, so it says here, workplace ethics create a desirable work environment. Can you imagine a workplace or an organization that members do not respect other members? Is that a good place to work with? Do you think you will be satisfied to work in this environment if there's no respect, there is no fairness, so the boss is always favoring one person? Okay, what else? The company is giving more increase in some groups of employees. What else? There are many things. Okay, if that is the workplace that you are going to work with, then I don't think that you will become happy, or I don't think that you will stay long in this company. So you see, workplace ethics creates a desirable work environment and increases employee loyalty and morale. Another thing is that workplace ethics is integral in promoting increased productivity and teamwork among the employees. So we know already that productivity is relating to the quantity or the amount of output that employees produce. Okay, and teamwork is related to coming up with higher productivity, because if there is a teamwork among employees, we expect higher productivity. But suppose there is no workplace ethics in the organization. Employees are always absent, or employees are always late coming to work. Do you think there will be higher productivity? Or do you think that teamwork may be possible? How can you implement teamwork if others are not present? They are absent. They're always absent. They are late. So we cannot have teamwork, and because of that, it will affect the production. So productivity will be reduced. So that is the use of workplace ethics in the workplace. Another importance of workplace ethics in the organization is that organizations can earn a lot of respect and develop a strong image in the public domain when they make ethical decisions. So you see there, okay, it can earn a lot of respect from the public. Okay, and ethical conduct in the workplace encourages a culture of making decisions based on ethics. So these are the benefits and importance of workplace ethics in the organization. Regarding work ethics, there are 10 work ethics performance standards. The first standard is attendance. This standard is about coming to work. So it says here, attendance and punctuality often have a large impact on individual and organizational success. So in other words, attendance and punctuality is very important because it affects individual success as well as organizational success. Okay. Like if you depend on other people to complete your task, but these people are always late or always absent, so how can you complete your task? You might not be successful in your task because of the absences or tardiness of other people. Okay, also for the organization, if these people are having an important function in the company, but they are not always present, what will happen to the company? So you see, so this is the importance of attendance and punctuality. So tardiness or absenteeism can also profoundly impact job performance and retention. Here are the points to improve our attendance. Okay, like for example, setting your work as high priority. Okay, so maybe somebody invites you to have dinner or to have some party, but you can say, oh, I have work tomorrow, so I cannot come. So that means to say you are prioritizing your work, because if you go to the invitation, you might be late in going to the work tomorrow. Okay, another thing is know your schedule. Okay, knowing your schedule so that you will not be late, especially if you are working on shift, first shift, second shift. So you know what time is your shift so that you will not be late. Okay, working, okay, using time appropriately is another thing. So make or maximize your work time appropriately. Do not use your time doing other businesses, because remember, the company is paying you to work during that time. So don't make personal things, because you are paid by the company. Now, in case you don't like to be late, the best thing is we use alarm clocks so that we can wake up on the right time in the morning, and get enough sleep so that if you are in your work, you will not sleepy. Okay? Now, if transportation is a problem, so that you will not be late, you can arrange your transportation. And just in case you need to be absent because of some circumstances or some reasons, it is always good to inform your supervisor about your absence. Let him know that you're going to get absent. In that way, he can find replacement, or he can assign the task to other people. It is not that he is waiting for you to come, but you are not coming to work. Okay, so it will disrupt the operation of your office. Okay, so this is for attendance. The next work ethic performance standard is character. What are the characters that we need to improve or we need to show in the workplace? So the first character is loyalty. To be loyal to your company. So this is a feeling or attitude of devoted attachment and affection to your work or to your company. So in other words, you are not going to sell your company to others. So be loyal to your company. Okay, second is honesty and integrity. So honesty is telling the truth, not telling lies. And integrity is doing the right thing even if nobody is watching you. So that is a very good character. And then number 3 is trustworthiness. Can they trust you, or the company can trust you, or your boss or your colleagues can trust you? So that is the character of trustworthiness. So the trait of deserving trust and confidence. Next is dependability. From the word depend. Can others depend on you? So to become dependable, you need to be consistent and reliable in your behavior. So consistent and reliable in your behavior. Like you are consistent in coming early to work. So whenever your boss may be late or there is some problems, so he cannot come that early, he can depend on you that you are in the office because you are consistent in coming to work very early. So your boss might think anyway he is there already in the office. Why he can say that? Because you are consistent in coming to work. That is about dependability. And similar to dependability is reliability. You can be relied on. So accepting duties and assignments and capable of being relied on. So if there are tasks in the office, if your manager, will give it to you, he knows that you accept these duties and assignments. He can rely on you. So this is about reliability. So he can say, okay, I know that he accepts these duties and responsibilities and he can do the job. Then that is what we call as reliability. Okay, another desirable character is self-starter. So self-starter, from the word self-starter, you can start by your own. So that means to say, taking the initiative, to begin a task for which you are responsible. So that means to say you are not going to wait for others to tell you what to do. So you know what to do. You can start doing it by yourself. So taking initiative to start. Okay, so take note the word taking the initiative to start or to begin a task for which you are responsible. You know already that that is your responsibility. So don't wait for others to tell you what to do. You know already how to start your task. That is what we call a self-starter. Another desirable character is self-discipline. So controlling yourself is self-discipline. So you have self-control. So training and controlling of oneself and one's conduct. And this is for your personal improvement. So like for example, you say, starting today, I'm on diet because I want to improve my body. I want to improve my health. So I'm on diet. But later, somebody is bringing a cake and other delicious food. And then you cannot control anymore yourself because you like to eat those food. Then you do not have what we call a self-discipline. So self-discipline is about controlling yourself. And then we have another desirable character, which is self-responsibility. That is assuming responsibility for their own health, safety, and betterment. Just like now with pandemic, so even if nobody is telling you to wear mask, but because you know that you may get this virus without the mask, so you need to you are responsible to yourself. You are responsible to your own health and safety. So better wear the mask, even if nobody is telling you to wear mask. It is for your own safety. It is for your own health, for your own betterment. So these are what we call as self-responsibility. Now we have the third work ethics performance standard, which is teamwork. Okay, so teamwork is very important in the organization. And we discussed this also in chapter 13 about team building and teamwork. So teamwork is vital, that employees work as a team. Usually, we need teamwork in the organization so that we can accomplish more tasks. It is important not only to their personal success and advancement, but also to that of their co-workers and to the company. So when we participate in a team, we as team members is not only benefited from teamwork, but also it will affect our co-workers as well as the company. Now, teamwork encourages and facilitates cooperation, pride, trust, and group identity, and fosters commitment and team spirit. So these are the importance of teamwork. It encourages and it provides these things such as cooperation, pride, trust, group identity, commitment, and team spirit. So in the workplace, it is important that you need to become a team member. You need to join teams. You need to participate in teams. You need to work as team. Now let's have another work ethics performance standards, which is appearance. Personality is very important. Your appearance is also very important in the workplace. So appearance deals with every aspect of how we perceive an individual. Remember that how others perceive you depends on your appearance. That's why we need to improve our appearance. Okay? So we need to look at our appearance. How we can improve our appearance. Okay? Also, we need to be concerned about our smell. So because our smell affects other people. So we need to be careful about our smell. And we can improve this with improving our cleanliness. We should be clean. We need to clean our body. Okay? In appearance, we need to shave. What else? We need to cut our hair. Okay, grooming. Well, even mannerism affects our appearance. So what are these mannerisms? Okay, sometimes there are people with mannerisms. They always do that, and sometimes it is not pleasant to other people. That's why we need to avoid our mannerisms. Okay, how to improve our appearance? Okay, you need to present a neat, clean appearance. As I said a while ago, we need to be clean. We need to maintain cleanliness. We need to shave our face. We need to cut our hair. And so on and so forth. We need to practice personal hygiene. Like, for example, taking a bath regularly. Washing our face regularly. Okay? We need to avoid smell in our body. Also, our clothing. So we need to wear clothing suitable to the job, suitable to the task and environment. I'm not saying that you need to wear expensive clothes, but it should be suitable to the job that you are handling. Now, appearance is also about verbal and written etiquette. the way you talk, the way you use words are included in appearance. Because when you use inappropriate words, okay, others perceive you as like uneducated. Okay, so that is using appropriate verbal and written etiquette. The fifth work ethics performance standard is very important. We call this as attitude. So these are attitudes not only towards our co-workers or towards our customers or other people, but we need also to consider our attitude towards ourselves. Let's start with attitude towards ourselves. So attitudes towards yourself. So what are the things that we need to consider when it comes to our attitudes toward ourselves? So first, we need to realize our personal worth. Okay, how do you value ourselves? Or we call that as personal worth. Do you think you are important person? Or do you think you have contribution to the organization? Or you look at yourself as little person or little living things, as they say. So we need to realize that we have also importance. All people have importance. All people have significance. All people has contribution. So don't think that you are just a small person. You need to have worth. We call that as personal worth. Or in other words, we call that as self-esteem. Positive self-esteem. So we think that we are also important, or we have value, we have worth, either in the society or in the organization. Okay, this is very important. The next consideration is appreciating and understanding the importance of the work that you do. There are people who do not enjoy their job. Why? Because they cannot appreciate, they cannot understand the importance of what they are doing. Regardless if your task is a small task or big task, what is important is you appreciate everything that you do. Because if you do not understand or appreciate the task that you do, you will not be happy, you will not be satisfied. So that is not an attitude towards ourselves. We need to put in our mind that what we are doing is also important. Okay, another thing is we need to seek professional self-development. Okay, other people say after they graduate, okay, I graduated already and that's it. So finish improving yourself. That is not the ideal attitude towards ourselves. Okay, if we can, we need to seek professional self-development. Okay, how we do that? So maybe some of you would like to continue your studies. But if you do not have time to continue your studies, what are other options? So there are other options such as reading, okay, watching educational movies, or we call this as videos, educational videos that will enrich yourself, that will increase your knowledge, especially educational videos about what you are doing. So these are what we call as seeking professional self-development. We need to develop ourselves. So we don't let ourselves like stagnant, meaning we are not growing. Our profession is not growing. So we need to seek professional self-development. We need to improve ourselves. We need to increase our knowledge. Okay? These are the attitudes towards ourselves. Okay, next is our attitude towards our job. So attitudes towards your job. How do you see your job? Okay? First, let's accept our responsibility. Okay, once you are assigned to that position, that means to say there are responsibilities that you need to take. There are responsibilities that you need to accept. Okay, this is very important. So in your job, you need to maintain honesty and integrity. So we discussed this values a while ago. So honesty means telling the truth, no lies, and integrity is doing the right thing even if nobody is watching you. So this is very important in our job. Without honesty and integrity, you will not enjoy your job. You will not be satisfied in your job. Okay, third, understand cultural diversity in the organization. So you will be working with other people later in the organization. And maybe some of them belong to different cultures. Some of them belong to different nationalities. So you need to understand cultural diversity. What's the difference between you and the other people in other culture or nationality? So you need to understand what are their cultures. Okay, that is understanding cultural diversity. Next is understanding the importance of teamwork. As we said a while ago, okay, it is important that we have teamwork in the organization. Because through teamwork, we can be more productive. You cannot work alone. We need others. We need the support of others. And lastly, okay, we need to avoid office politics. If possible, we need to avoid office politics. So these are our attitudes towards our job. How about our attitudes towards our co-workers? How we are going to deal with our colleagues in the organization? Okay, so these are some of the points regarding attitudes towards our co-workers. First, we need to respect them. We need to respect their privacy. Okay, everyone has privacy in the office. So we need to respect them. Especially if your co-worker is very busy or he has a lot of work to be done. So we don't need to disturb him. We give them privacy. Okay? We don't make noise or something that will disturb our co-workers. Again, we need to understand cultural differences. So we need to understand that some of our co-workers, especially those who belong to other cultures, have cultural differences, meaning their culture is different from ours, and we need to understand them. And we need to be supportive of each other. So we need to support each other. They should support you, but you need also to support them. Because without support, it is very difficult to complete our task, especially if our task depends on the inputs of other people in the organization. So we need to be supportive. Okay? It is also important that we need to promote teamwork. We need to be team in the organization. So remember the difference between team and group. And we need to choose team rather than group, because we can be more productive if we are in team. Okay, there is also a need to help others to accept change. There are people who are close-minded. It is very normal in an organization. But what we can do is, we can explain to them why there should be a change, why change is needed. So it says here, help others to accept change. Maybe I can say that those people who resist change cannot understand why there is a need for a change. And on our part, we need to explain to them why it is necessary to have change. Okay? So you need to help others to accept change. And these are our attitudes towards our co-workers. Now, it is also important, okay, to practice attitude towards our customers and clients. So this is very important, especially if your company depends on your customers. Okay? First, we need to understand cultural diversity, because we have customers belonging to different cultures, different nationalities. So it is important that we need to understand their culture. Secondly, be service-oriented. How to become service-oriented? So always think of serving our customers. So don't wait for them to ask help from you. So offer your service to them. So ask them. Don't wait for them to tell you what they need, but we need to ask them what they need. Okay? So usually we say, how can I help you? So that is a very good phrase. You say to your customers or to your clients. Don't wait for them to tell you what they need. Okay? So first, ask them what they need. Okay? How can you help them? That is what we call as service-oriented. This is also important. So whenever you deal with customers, always greet people with a smile. Or even not your customers, your co-workers. So you need to greet them with smiles. Okay, when you greet people, you need to always stand to greet them, to handshake with them. Of course, today it is difficult to handshake with another person because of this virus. But in normal times, when you need to greet them and handshake with them, okay, especially if you are sitting on your desk, so you need to stand to greet them and offer your hand for a handshake. Then there is a need to practice proper introductions and greetings, especially if you are introducing visitors to your boss or to your co-worker. Which one you should introduce first? The visitor or your boss? Okay, usually we have standards for this. Like if you are introducing a visitor, okay, so usually we tell the boss, okay, boss, this is the name of the visitor, and then after that one, tell your visitor, this is my boss, and tell the name. Okay, something like that. So we need to practice these proper introductions and greetings. So in Saudi, if the other person is also a Saudi, so you have a greeting standard. But suppose you are greeting a person who is not a Saudi, like for example, Japanese, how are you going to greet Japanese? Suppose you have Japanese visitors. What is the proper way of greeting them? So you need to practice this thing. Although sometimes they say it is not necessary, okay, just say hello, good morning, and so on and so forth. But it is better if you are going to greet them in their own way. Another important thing is you need to observe nonverbal communication of others. Okay, remember in chapter 3, okay, about nonverbal communication. So there are more messages in nonverbal communication than in verbal communication. That's why you need to observe what they really mean, because sometimes you can only understand what they are saying based on the nonverbal communication of others. And of course, it says here, be careful about your own nonverbal communication, especially if you are dealing with people belonging to other cultures or nationality, because some of the nonverbal signs have different meanings in other culture. In addition, it says here, be sympathetic with a customer who has a problem with the company. You know already that sometimes there are customers who are very angry because sometimes they have problems with your company. Okay, try to understand these customers. Okay, if they are angry, don't be angry also. So just be cool. Okay, and let them say what they want to tell you. Okay, so be sympathetic. Try to understand what they feel. That is what we mean by sympathetic. So understand what the customer feel during that time. Okay, next we have putting yourself in the customer's place. Okay, this is how we deal with customers. Sometimes we need to put ourselves in their place. What if we are the customers? How we are going to react? Okay, so we say like that. And understand that no customer, no job, especially if you belong to the organization that depends on the customer, like for example, retail and service organizations. Okay, so customers are very important. If they go to another company, then okay, that is something for your company to consider. Okay, these are some of the things that we need to consider when it comes to dealing with customers, our attitudes when dealing with customers or clients. The next work ethics performance standards is about productivity. We know that productivity has something to do with the amount of output that we produce during the day. The more the outputs that we can produce, the higher is our productivity. So how we can increase our productivity? Because this is one of the work ethics performance standard that we need to be productive in the company. So what are some of the points that make us productive? Okay, first, we need to follow directions and procedures. Usually, companies have operations manual. How you operate. Okay, how to operate the machine, how to do the task. So that is included in the operations manual of the company. And there are directions there on what to do things. And it says here, we need to follow the directions and procedures stated in the manual. Because if we don't follow, what will happen? It is likely that we make more mistakes. Because this manual that gives directions, direct us or guide us in doing things. If only we can follow all those directions, probably we can minimize mistakes. Next, we need to observe established policies on safety. Usually in the companies, you can see there are many signs about safety. So we need to follow those safety signs or safety procedures in the company. Because if we fail to follow these procedures and policies, it is likely that we can meet accidents or there will be something that is not good to happen. It will jeopardize what we call a safety in the workplace. Next, it says here, notify proper authorities of circumstances or situations presenting potential safety hazards. If you see something that it might be safety hazards, please report or inform the authority about these situations or circumstances. Like for example, you saw that there is a short circuit in one part of the building. So you notify the proper authorities so that they can solve these safety hazards. Other things like there are many blockage. If you consider this as safety hazards, then you need to report. If you cannot do it by yourself, you can report it to proper authorities. It will affect, of course, our productivity, because if there are something bad happen in that particular area, it will disrupt the operation. It will disrupt the production of the output. Next is maintaining equipment and supplies. Some of the employees use devices, use equipment, they use supplies. After using them, so we need to maintain them. We need to keep them in a safe place. So that is maintaining equipment and supplies. The next thing is keeping our work area neat and clean. So don't just depend on cleaners or utility people to clean the workplace. You yourself can clean, because that is for our advantage actually. There are some cleaners or utility people. They are very busy people and sometimes they cannot clean the work area. So let's try to help them clean. Next is conserving materials. Some people have that mentality that it is because the company is the one buying this materials, it's okay to not to save them. So just use it and don't save. Anyway, it is not your money. It is the money of the company. So it should not be our mentality like that. Even if it is not our money, it is the company's money, so we need to conserve materials. Remember that if we save more, the company will have more money, and usually this money will go back to us. We will be benefited from that savings of the company. Okay, other things like do not use or knowingly permit others to use tools and equipment improperly. This is if we see others using some equipments improperly. So the use of these materials is not proper. Okay, so either we tell these people to stop using it because they do not know how to use them properly, or to help them how to use this equipment. Now, sometimes we cannot avoid being absent in our work. So just in case you missed some of your tasks or assignments, then you need to make up. Like for example, you're absent today because there are some reasons why you are absent today. So the following day, you need to make up for the missed assignments or task. Okay, so that we can catch up with the task required from us. And stay on task and utilize time constructively. So if you are wasting your time, then you cannot become productive. So you need to stay on your work or task and then utilize or maximize the time constructively. So there are people who are just playing during the work time. Now, what do you expect in terms of their outputs? So they can produce more during the day because most of the time they are playing. So we need to utilize our time constructively. Okay, the next work ethics performance standard is organizational skills. So what it says here, employers consider effective time management and organizational skills as good work habits. So we need to implement good work habits in the organization, such as effective time management and organizational skills. So what are some of the things that we need to consider when we say organizational skills? Okay, number one, as you enter into your new workplace, believe that you are in control. Okay, some employees, whenever they have new assignments or new workplace, sometimes they are not confident. Sometimes they think that they cannot do the job. Okay, so that is not about organizational skills. So when we enter into new workplace, we need to believe that we can do it. We are in control. Okay? Now, sometimes we do not know how to do things. That is common. We cannot say that we know everything. Suppose there are things that you do not know. What will you do? Okay, so it says here, ask for help. It is good to ask for help. Sometimes, you see, we have this, because of our pride, we do not want to ask help from other people because we think that we are superior than these people. Why ask help from them? But it is always important to ask help from other people, especially if we do not know how to do the thing. So we need to ask help. Okay, another thing is prioritizing. Prioritize our task. In a day, we have different tasks. But what is more important and less important? That is prioritizing. So we need to do the more important things first. Then the last one is the least important things to do. That is prioritizing. Okay, sometimes it is important to set timetables. Usually in the company, they ask the employees to make their timetables. What are you going to do today, tomorrow, the next day, the next month? So that is what we call as timetables. So timetables are lists of what you are going to achieve in a particular date. Okay, then spend time wisely. So we need to maximize our time. So we need to use our time wisely so that at the end, okay, we can achieve all the things that we need to do for that particular day, and we can avoid pending works. That is spending time wisely. So these are the work ethics performance standards regarding organizational skills. Now, next work ethics performance standard is about communication. Okay, actually we have a chapter about communication, that is chapter 3. Okay, so what about communication? Communication is very important to any type of organizations. That's why we say that without communication, an organization could not exist. Okay, remember that. That's why communication is very important. So whether it is verbal or non-verbal, it should be, or it must be clear. So communication must be clear, to the point, meaning you need to direct it to the point. You are not going to go around the bush and put different words, and at the end it will destroy the meaning of communication. So you should be direct, to the point, and you should be empathetic. What is empathetic? Meaning you need also to consider the feelings of others when communicating. It is not that the person you are communicating with is maybe sad, but you are happy. Something like that. So we need to be empathetic. And one must keep in mind that we must always treat others as we would like others to treat us. So that is about communication. So we said a lot about communications already. In fact, we have a separate chapter for this. That's why we need to go to the next work ethic performance standard. And this is what we call as cooperation. To cooperate. So this one is similar to teamwork, but you can see the difference between cooperation and teamwork. Here in cooperation, it says it involves developing good working relationships with others. And it is also important that we follow the chain of command, as well as good at conflict management and being a good problem solver. So this is the description of cooperation. How we will do this? First, we need to convey our willingness to assist others. Convey means we need to show to others that we are willing to assist them, to help them. That is cooperation. Secondly, work to resolve conflicts and to identify solutions in which all parties benefit. So this is also a type of cooperation when we try to resolve, when we try to correct or solve the problem. Okay, identifying solutions so that both parties, both groups can be satisfied. Another thing is demonstrating concern for treating people fairly and equitably. So this is what we call as fairness. So we need to demonstrate, we need to show fairness in treating people. Okay? And we follow the chain of command in resolving conflicts. So we will not just go and jump to the higher management. Okay, we need to follow the chain of command when resolving problems or conflict. Other points about cooperation are displaying leadership skills. Okay, so even if we are not the leader of the team or group, but we need also to display our leadership skills. Okay, like we are willing to lead the group and so on. Another one is appropriately handle criticism, conflicts, and complaints. So it says here, we need to handle criticism. Criticism means if somebody is criticizing us, just think about the positive side of criticisms, because not all criticisms are bad. We have what we call as constructive criticisms that can help us to improve ourselves. So we need to handle criticisms positively. Likewise, handling conflict. So when we handle conflict, especially if we are not involved, but in the group, there are different groups that have conflict. So we need to stay at the middle. We need to solve it rather than we need to side one group only. And if there are complaints, we need to handle them appropriately by getting all the necessary information and try to solve the complaints. Another thing is demonstrate problem-solving capability. Okay? So we need to solve problems. We need to improve our problem-solving capabilities. We know how to solve the problems. We know how to find solutions. We should be creative in coming up with solutions. That is demonstrating problem-solving capability. And we need to maintain appropriate relationships with supervisors and peers. So this is a way of cooperating with our supervisors and our peers. So when we say supervisors, these are the people above us, and our peers can be same position with us or those below us. So we need to maintain appropriate relationships with our boss, our supervisors, as well as our peers. Okay? So these are the different points about cooperation. Lastly, we have this work ethics performance standards regarding respect. So every working relationship from the top to the bottom of the chain of command is based on respect. So if you are the boss, you need to respect your subordinates, or you need to respect people below you. But if you are just an employee, you need also to respect those who are in the higher ups. So it says here, every working relationship from the top to the bottom of the chain of command is based on respect. So it says here, respect your subordinates as you do your superiors. So when we say subordinates are the people below us, and superiors are the people above us. So whether they are below us or above us, we need to respect our co-workers. Okay. In addition, we need to treat everyone in the workplace with respect, courtesy, and tact. So respect, courtesy, and tact are similar things. Okay. But what is important here is respect. Courtesy means like saying good words to them. So that is what we mean by courtesy. Okay, this is also very important. Do not engage in harassment of any kind. Do not become a bully. Don't bully your co-workers. Don't harass them. And deal appropriately with cultural or racial diversity. So this is about respect. Now let's move to the implementation and management of ethics in the workplace. How we implement and how we manage ethics in the workplace. Here are some of the points that we need to consider when we implement and manage ethics in the workplace. Okay, first, implementing ethics in the workplace is a complex but rewarding task. So it is not an easy task to implement ethics in the workplace. Okay, you cannot just implement ethics in the workplace overnight or in a week. Sometimes it requires some time to implement ethics in the workplace. Says here, there is a need to focus on implementing uniform ethical standards and rules throughout the organization. So if we are going to implement ethics in the workplace, it should be uniform all throughout the organization in different departments. It is not that we select only some of the departments where we can implement ethics. So once we implement ethics, it should be all over the organization. So not only selective or selected departments. It should be all throughout the organization. Then managing ethics in the workplace requires certain tools. Okay, so it is not, you can just say, okay, let's implement ethics without anything. So there should be tools that we need to use in implementing ethics. So what are these tools? Okay, the following are some of the tools that we can use. Like for example, okay, what are this? So we have code of ethics or code of conduct, including policies and procedures. So these are the tools that we can use in implementing ethics in the workplace. Okay, what are the importance of these tools? It says here, these tools direct the organization as leaders attempt to manage ethics. So there should be code or document about what to be followed. What are the policies? Okay, it should be clear. Without policies, without rules, without code of ethics, you cannot just say verbally about what you want in the workplace, especially implementing ethics. Now, the following are the guidelines for implementing and managing ethics. First, give it time. As I said a while ago, you cannot just implement ethics overnight. You need several days or sometimes several months to implement ethics in the workplace. So it says here, managing ethics is a process-oriented. There is a process. There is a step-by-step procedure. Okay, it is a process-oriented activity that requires time and constant assessment. So it is not only for one day that you can implement it. It needs time. It requires time. Next, we need to focus on behavior, not on the person. Okay? Do not give unclear requirements. Make sure that ethics management has an impact on behavior. So we need to focus on behavior. What should everyone do? Okay, you should have list of things that they need to do and what are the things that they do not need to do or they should not do. So we need to focus on the behavior, not on the person. Okay, third, avoid problems. So do not put anything that will create another problem. So it says here, create clear codes and policies that will prevent ethical problems in the future. So this is very important. Put something that will not create another problem or something that will avoid problems. Number 4, be open. Okay, involve different groups in ethics program and make decisions public. Okay, so come up with groups or teams, okay, to look at ethical programs or let different people participate in ethical programs, and whenever they make decisions, you need to make that as public. Let everyone know about it. Okay, don't hide these policies. Let everyone know about the policies regarding ethical programs or the ethical implementation in the workplace. Number 5, integrate ethics. Okay, it says here, make sure that all management programs have ethical values. Okay, when we implement ethical programs, we make it sure that we need to include ethical values, particularly the values of the organization. Not the values of the individuals, but the values that you want the organization should practice or the organization should have. Okay, and number 6, the last one, allow for mistakes. Okay, sometimes this is the point that others missed. Sometimes they do not like mistakes. So here, we need to allow mistakes. Why? Okay, teach employees how to behave ethically and do not give up when mistakes happen. Well, that is common, that when you implement ethical programs in the organization, there are some who cannot follow it immediately. Maybe it will take time before they can follow it. So sometimes they make mistakes. And usually we allow it. Okay? So that we will know, okay, what are some of the improvements that we can do in implementing ethical programs. So these are the guidelines when we are going to implement ethics in the workplace, and also how to manage them after the implementation of ethics in the workplace. What is important is that the organization have ethical programs in the workplace and everyone is practicing ethics in the workplace. Okay, so that ends our discussion for this particular topic, ethics in the workplace, or we call this as workplace ethics.